What does your mind drift to when you don't think about anything? Like, what's your default thing that's running in your mind? And what kind of gives you anxiety? Or, I don't know, just like seems to be spinning in your head at all times? I think these questions are really, really good to ask ourselves. We literally were reading Matthew 6 yesterday, and these were the questions that I was posing to the group. Like, what's on your mind 24/7? And when you're in default mode or not doing anything and your mind kind of gets empty in a way, what do you think about? Like, what springs into your mind and grabs your attention, even though it's kind of, maybe it's even unwanted? And I think that just really shows us where we are directed towards, and it doesn't mean that it's anything bad that we think about those things or that these things take our thoughts captive, but we're called to redirect our thinking to Jesus and redirect our eyes to Jesus and look onto Him. And so I think oftentimes we run into issues in our life and we have fears and anxiety around certain things in our life, like provision or health and other things, because instead of thinking about Jesus and redirecting our eyes to what He says about us, what our identity in Him is, who we are as His sons and daughters, instead of thinking about that and filling our minds with His words and Him actually saying that we should not be anxious because we do not have to be, we instead think about so many other things that seem to rule our life and that make us anxious and that make us feel confused and that just occupy our thoughts so much. And there's no cure for that. That's our sinful nature. But we can turn our thoughts and ourselves to Jesus, turn our hearts to Him, so that we would be sanctified. And through that process of sanctification, which we can't do it by ourselves, we need Jesus for that, our hearts turn, our hearts shift, and we'll notice over time, over the span of our entire life, that we will naturally gravitate more towards thinking about Him, defaulting towards prayer instead of thinking about everything that we would be able to worry about in this life. And He says in His word, actually, don't worry about the next day because the next day worries about itself. And He also says, what will you change if you worry? What will you change if you have anxiety? And so I just feel so encouraged to just come to Him continuously, read His word. And actually the Psalms have been so soothing as well, just reading them in the past couple of days. And it really helps to let go of some of our idols and only have Him in our thoughts, at the forefront of our life, in every little tiny detail, because that's where He wants to be. He wants to be involved in every single little tiny detail of your life.